Hey! Hi! How you doing? This is Ryan, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. I love Remnant from the Ashes. Have I said that already? I love this game so much. It has easily become one of my favorite video games of all time. A game that I have fallen in love with, a game that I will happily declare to be one of my favorites of all time, a game I will go so far as to champion as being one of the greatest video games ever made. I love Remnant from the Ashes, developed by Gunfire Games. It was my game of the year 2019 and has easily become one of my favorite video games of all time. Yeah, I guess it's no secret that I love this game franchise, this game series consisting of Chronos Before the Ashes, Remnant from the Ashes, and most recently, Remnant 2. Speaking of which, in my last Remnant 2 video, I shared with you all my top 5 favorite bosses from the game, as they are one of the main appeals and core identifying features of the game, alongside other such iconic in-game content like weapons, armor sets, weapon mods, and of course, dungeons. Ah yes, the procedurally generated RNG dungeons of the Remnant games. Both Remnant 1 and 2 are inspired by a great many things, Souls-likes, shooters, but also classical RPGs. And what is a classic RPG without some dungeon crawling? Now, while I loved the dungeons found in Remnant from the Ashes, there were some fair criticisms to be made. Namely, in how formulaic the dungeons were, as the vast majority of them consisted of exploring the dungeon tile set, killing all the enemies, and then fighting a dungeon boss at the end. Yes, there were some more unique dungeons that stood out from the rest. Dungeons that contained unique events, secrets, and gameplay mechanics, such as Leto's Lab on Earth, the Purge Hall on Rom, and the Fetid Pools on Corsus. Please don't misunderstand me. There were some truly memorable dungeons found in Remnant from the Ashes that I loved, but I also cannot deny that the vast majority of the dungeons just consisted of dungeon bosses. They felt pretty interchangeable, copy and pasted even. Still to this day, when I replay Remnant from the Ashes, I struggle to remember and identify which dungeon is which, given their lack of a unique identity. In Remnant 2, however, that is not the case whatsoever. Developer Gunfire Games once again listened to criticism and improved, upgraded, and overhauled how they designed dungeons in Remnant 2. In Remnant 2, every dungeon tile set has unique secrets, loot, and mechanics tied to them. There's a greater variety of dungeon tile sets. More unique, one-of-a-kind dungeons that don't just focus on dungeon bosses. There are some dungeons where the whole dungeon is just a giant puzzle. And with the introduction of injectables, which are essentially procedurally generated RNG mini side dungeons in your already procedurally generated RNG dungeon, it allows for so much more variety, unique experiences, greatly encourages exploration, and it makes replaying the same dungeons over and over again all the more fresh and exciting. Unlike in Remnant from the Ashes, in Remnant 2, I have memorized every single dungeon in the game. As soon as I see the entrance to the dungeon, the tile set, and the name of the dungeon on the minimap, I know exactly which dungeon is which and what I'm in for. Again, I loved the dungeons in the first Remnant, but I gotta admit, the dungeons found in Remnant 2 kind of blow the first game's dungeons out of the water. They're an objective improvement in every single way possible, which made picking my top 5 favorite dungeons from Remnant 2 so damn difficult because I love almost all of them. It was even harder just not picking every single goddamn dungeon on Yeisha. I love all the Yeisha dungeons so much, man. They're all so good. There isn't a bad one. But for the sake of being fair and to add variety to the list, I was sure to pick my favorite dungeons from Lawsome and Neyrud as well. Anyways, be sure to let me know what your favorite dungeons from Remnant 2 were in the comments section down below. But in the meantime, sit back, relax, and let me share with you all my top 5 favorite dungeons from Remnant 2. Number 5. Council Chamber. One of only a couple truly narrative and lore-focused dungeons. The premise of the dungeon is as follows. You find yourself in the chambers of the Fey Council, the lawmakers, as you would, of the Fey Kingdom, former loyal servants to the Fey's one true king, now under the rule of the imposter king, Feylin/Feyrin. The council consists of 3 characters, Sivan, Onaril, and Niall. They're in a bit of a pickle and need an independent party, i.e. you, to help solve their dilemma. You see, one of them is a traitor. One of the 3 members of this council aided in the assassination of the one true king, and you have to help them figure out who done it. That's right. It's a murder mystery. Right off the bat, the premise of this dungeon is so great and has such a strong introduction. The voice acting for Sivan, Onaril, and Niall is so fucking good. And if you're a story and lore junkie like me, you'll love all the great backstory and world building concerning the Fey realm presented by these characters. So the council gives you your objective. Find evidence as to who is the traitor. Then come back and make an accusation. You'll then proceed to explore and fight your way through the Fey Beatific Palace dungeon tile set. This is easily my favorite dungeon tile set in Lawsome. I love the visual aesthetic. I love the pool of injectables that can be selected for this tile set, and I love the variety of special elite enemies available in this tile set. Where most dungeon tile sets have only up to 2 different special elite enemies that can spawn, the Fey Beatific and Malefic Palace dungeon tile sets have up to 4. So there's a great variety of possibilities and encounters available. But once you make your way to the supposed end of the dungeon, you'll encounter a magic mirror. Said magic mirror will teleport you from the council chamber to the council tribunal, the malefic dark version on the other side of the Fey realm. That's right, there's another dungeon inside this dungeon! It's Dungeonception. After battling your way through some challenging encounters with multiple Fey enemies, you'll be faced with a little puzzle concerning some color-coded keys and their respective different counselor thrones. After solving the puzzle, the doors will open to the throne room of the one true king. Yes, in this dungeon you get to meet and see the fabled one true king of the Fey, an integral character to the whole story and world of Lawsome. Also the visuals here, my god, the visuals, fucking gorgeous. After pulling out the dagger lodged in the back of the one true king, you are left with some options in how you want to complete this dungeon. You can look at the hilt of the dagger and determine who is the traitor on the council. You then could return to the council chamber, make an accusation, present your evidence, and have the traitor be executed. Or you could make a false accusation and initiate a boss fight with the council. Depending on your choices, you can get wildly different loot and rewards from this dungeon. Top that off with, due to procedural generation and RNG, whoever the traitor is on the council is randomly chosen on every playthrough, making this one of the most replayable dungeons in the whole game. This is just such a great dungeon, easily one of the best dungeons in Remnant 2, taking the number 5 spot on my list. Number 4, Postulant Parlor. Yet another dungeon from Lawsome, and yet another dungeon utilizing the Fey Beatific Palace tile set. What can I say? I'm a sucker for gold. Upon entering the Postulant Parlor, you'll immediately notice that the layout of this dungeon is completely different to any other dungeon you've been to before. The rooms all consist of these massive square chambers with these torches in the center of them all. You'll notice that some of the hallways connecting these square chambers have their doors closed. Wonder what that could all be about, eh? Anyways, you'll make your way through the dungeon fighting hordes of Fey. A surprisingly combat-heavy dungeon. Lots of enemies here. Anyways, you'll make your way to the supposed final chamber of the dungeon and encounter the titular postulant. In front of him appears to be a table with a game of chess? The pieces on this board, covered in square tiles, appear to have lights on them with the same colors as some of the torches I saw on my way here. Wait a second. Oh my. It won't take you long to figure out that the Postulant's board game is connected to the dungeon itself. Depending on where the player's pieces and the postulant's pieces are on the board will determine whether or not certain doors around the dungeon are open or closed, giving you access to various loot and rewards scattered throughout the dungeon. However, if you want any of the goodies this dungeon contains, you're going to have to play the postulant's game. Now at first, the board game appears to be some sort of fey version of chess, but in reality, it's actually Connect 4. You're going to be competing with the postulant to line up your pieces in a row, whether that be vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. If you win, you complete the dungeon and are rewarded with the Royal Hunting Bow. If the postulant wins, you will be affected with the Curse Blight debuff. And if you continue to lose the postulant, he will continuously stack the Curse Blight debuff upon you. However, you can completely ignore these repercussions if you have equipped the Hex Ward Ring, which completely prevents the Curse Blight. So yeah, suck it, Postulant! The Postulant Parlor is such a great dungeon, completely unique from every other dungeon in the game, a satisfying and rewarding puzzle to solve, tons of great loot and rewards. What else could you want from a dungeon? It's why the Postulant Parlor takes the number 4 spot on my list. Number 3, Terminus Station. I think this is a lot of people's favorite dungeon. Who doesn't love an action-packed train sequence set piece in a video game? However, I'm getting ahead of myself. Terminus Station takes place in the tower tile set on Neyrud. While I love all the dungeon tile sets of Neyrud, the tower one might be my favorite. What with the atmosphere, the visual aesthetic, and being able to fight against the various robot enemies of Neyrud. Side note, the Neyrud robot enemies are so much fun to fight and kill, and this whole dungeon is basically nothing but that, so I'm having a good time. So you'll make your way through the initial tower tile set of the dungeon, fighting and exploring until you reach an oddly long elevator ride, where you'll encounter a train station. I'll let the conductor take it from here.
But I digress. I am the conductor of this train, and it is my honor to propose to you a little test. The rules are simple. Kill everything on this train before it crashes, and you die. Are you ready? I suppose it does not matter whether you are or not.
Oh, that's right, folks. You've got 7 minutes to make it to the front of the train and kill everything on board before time runs out and the train crashes. What follows is an intense and exciting combat gauntlet, engaging with scores upon scores of robots, with a couple Spectre special elites thrown in for good measure. Next to the excellent, engaging combat found in this dungeon, what stands out in equal measure is the visual spectacle. You're battling alien robots on an alien train moving at impossible speeds in a race against time. This is easily one of the standout set-piece moments in Remnant 2. A brilliant showcase of all the upgrades and improvements in this sequel compared to its predecessor. Finally, the dungeon also provides some great rewards and loot, including a new trait, a new melee weapon, and the possibility of even more rewards outside of the dungeon. But what's personally most important to me is that I just find Terminus Station to be so much fucking fun. It's a joy to play through every time I get this dungeon on Neyrud, and that's why Terminus Station is my third favorite dungeon in Remnant 2. Number 2, the Chimney. Finally, we're at the dungeons of Yeisha. Gah, if I really wanted to, I could have filled this entire top 5 list with nothing but dungeons from Yeisha, but that wouldn't be fair to all the other dungeons in the game, so we'll settle for my top 2 favorites. First up, my second favorite dungeon in all of Remnant 2, the Chimney. I fucking love the Chimney so much. First off, the Chimney utilizes the Undead Tombs tile set of Yeisha, and I fucking love this tile set so much. Oh, the visuals, the atmosphere, the ambiance, the hordes of root zombies to slaughter. Oh, and the pool of injectables available for the Undead Tombs tile set. Oh, some of the best injectables in the whole game. Alas, you'll make your way through the initial Undead Tombs portion of the dungeon before arriving at the main event, the set piece, the chimney itself. You'll notice a crystal housed inside a massive device. You'll notice 2 fields of purple electricity, both above and below you. You'll notice a winding staircase that goes down and down and down. You'll also notice smaller crystals porched alongside this stairway. That's interesting. Welp, nothing else to do but pull this ominous lever and see what happens. What follows is one of the most intense, engaging, and for me personally, one of the most fun sequences in all of Remnant 2. The crystal at the center of the room begins to lower alongside those 2 electrical fields. You now must pursue and keep pace with the crystal. Be sure to not go too slow as to not die to the electrical field above, and be sure to not go too fast as to make contact with the electrical field below. Oh, and be sure to watch out for the crystals on the side of the stairs, which will occasionally flare up and create an electrical explosion, causing the overloaded status effect. Oh yeah, and all of this is happening while hordes of root zombies are literally flooding out of the walls. I love how this dungeon just allows players to go hog wild, slaughtering a small army of enemies. So as you're slaughtering hordes of root zombies, making your way downstairs, keeping pace with the 2 continuously descending electrical fields of death, eventually, the elevator lift device that the crystal is on will get stuck, clogged up by roots. You'll have to make your way onto the central platform and shoot those roots. Also, keep your eye out for some secret loot to obtain while you're there. However, after an arduous journey to the bottom, the crystal will get stuck in roots one last time, shoot those roots, survive the hordes of zombies, and various root special elites, until, boom, the crystal has finally reached the bottom, and you can claim your reward. A new weapon mod. Well, wasn't that one hell of a ride? I love the chimney so much. I love the experience it provides, the intensity of the descent down the staircase, the non-stop combat, but most of all, the music. Oh my god, the chimney's unique soundtrack. Just listen to this. So good! I love it so much, and that's why the chimney is my second favorite dungeon in Remnant 2. And my number 1 favorite dungeon in Remnant 2 is Endera's End. This dungeon utilizes the ziggurat tile set on Yeisha, and that's all you're getting out of me. That's right, I'm not spoiling this dungeon at all, whatsoever. If you've played Remnant 2, and experience the Endera's End dungeon for yourself, then you know why this is my favorite dungeon. It contains everything you could possibly want in a classical RPG style of dungeon. Exploration, puzzles, and secrets. Oh, so many secrets. One could say, secrets within secrets. So I don't want to spoil a goddamn thing for anyone who's watching this video and hasn't played Remnant 2 yet. So buy and play Remnant 2, and when you get to Yeisha, find the Endera's End dungeon for yourself, and be sure to explore it thoroughly. there's some really awesome loot and rewards waiting for you. I will say this, however, about Indara's End. While I love the secrets within secrets, I'm also just a really big fan of the ziggurat tile set on Yeisha. I love the various pan-root enemies. So much fun to fight and kill. And what's also so cool to me is that Indara's End is the only dungeon with a pool of injectables that are completely unique to it. These injectables can only be found and experienced in Indara's End. And wouldn't you know it, all of them are structured around puzzles and secrets. So yeah, for those of you who haven't played Remnant 2 and experienced the Indara's End dungeon, play it for yourself and you'll see why it's my favorite dungeon in Remnant 2. And for those of you who have played Remnant 2, you already know and understand why Indara's End is my favorite dungeon in Remnant 2. Anyways, that's been a video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to hit the like button. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what your favorite dungeons from Remnant 2 are. If you want to help out and support this video, then please share it on social media, Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook. And if you want to help out and support me directly, please consider making a donation via the Super Thanks feature here on YouTube, or by clicking on the links and donating via my Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-Fi pages, links in the description down below. Anyways, once again, that's been a video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.